Okay. Seems like it's starting. So thank you so much, my friend, for taking this time. I'm very happy to be here with you. So the first thing would be just to introduce, like my story and your story. So do you want to start or should I start? What do you prefer? Your
You start.
choice.
You start.
Okay. 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 So for me, it started quite early. So it started at when I was 18. So I was really obsessed about this spiritual quest. It was really the most important thing in my life by far, like more than girls, more than money, more than all of this. So it led me to meet some good teachers and some more or less good. So the first one was Sadhguru, who I think is a pretty decent teacher. He still helped me quite a bit. I spent 6 months in his ashram in India.
Mhm.
So that's how it started. So
Mhm.
I was 18 when that started. So
Wow.
yeah. So I was at that time I was really in the seeking kind of period, and I was obsessed with like spiritual practice. I would spend like hours doing yoga and doing really intense practices, which led nowhere. But I still did it. So it's like that. It's like that. So I spent 6 months there. Then I came back because of COVID, and also because my parents, they were a bit worried. What are you doing in this kind of place? You should be working. You should be having a job. You should be having a wife. All of that nonsense. So I came back, and I came back, and then another period started. It was I met Adishanti, who was I think a better teacher, a much more down to earth teacher. And I think it was the most transformative period of my life, because then I started doing like some silent retreats, and silent retreats is the most effective way for this person to wake up, I think.
Mhm.
And it worked pretty well. It was nice. It was very nice experience. And just to have a sangha and people with whom you talk, like in Europe, we're like a small team, and it's nice. It's nice. So Adishanti was second one, and then so that was not a seeking period. It was more like a kind of relax your ass, stop seeking kind of period, that kind of thing. And then because I started working, things moved, things changed, and I went to India again. This time to do my. Oh no, sorry, I didn't go to India. I did my yoga training with another institute, where I met another teacher who is called the Daji, who's like a heartfulness master. I don't know if you've heard of like Brian Jones
Mhm.
and this guy's. Yeah, he's from the US, right? So this guy, he introduced me to the heartfulness meditation because I had a lot of trauma in the heart center. I don't know, maybe it was related to my mother's side, something. I don't know. So that was helpful, but it was still in the dream. So it didn't wake me up, actually, right? It was still useful. And and then the journey continued. And then very recently, I had a bit of a heartbreak, but that was, I think helpful in the sense that I wasn't, I mean, I'm never ready for a relationship, but I wasn't ready at all. I thought I was. I was not. And somehow it pushed me out of the spiritual dream, and I really wanted to wake up. Like I wanted the truth, right? So the orientation had changed. It was not like to have a good dream, to have more money or more spiritual experiences. It was to wake up. And that's how I found, I mean, I knew you for a long time, but that's how your videos started to resonate the most. When I was young, I didn't like your videos at all. When I was too young, I didn't like your videos. It was too straightforward,
Well, when you say that, it's funny because your age is showing, because I've only been making those videos for maybe 6 years.
Yeah.
So when you say when you were young, that that means only 6 years ago.
I know, but it seems like such a long time, and even
So
in
you're
terms of
24 now?
sorry,
You are 24?
I'm 27.
27. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, but between like from my time when I was 18 to now, I'm such a completely different person, like completely different in such a short time.
Yes.
It's crazy. So
Mhm.
your video started to resonate very recently when I just wanted to, be this and stop being my person, even the good person. I was just tired of it. It didn't work out, So I wanted to, I wanted the truth, right? Not the mumbo jumbo kind of thing. So that's how I refound your videos and started to appreciate it. So that's pretty much my spiritual story. And now I would very much like to know your story in short, but I know you have a lot of experience even with Ramana, and so I would like to hear if you can share. It would be great.
Sure. Were you present at our last satsang, or did you get the recording at least?
I
The
didn't
one
get the recording, and I wasn't there. I was working, but
I'm surprised you didn't get the recording, because you're on the mailing list, so you should have gotten.
okay, maybe I did.
Because the exact topic of our last satsang was about the readiness for awakening, and how we sometimes look for markers. We look for signposts that say we're getting this close, we're getting this close, we're getting this close, kind of thing. And one of the signposts is often a feeling of being finished with the world.
Yes.
Being complete with all of the gyrations of being a human in the world.
Yes.
Maybe even so much to the point of being disgusted with it, just totally.
Yeah, like kind of bored. Yes.
And so I'll make sure you get that recording, because
that would be great.
literally yes. There was just a whole hour on that subject alone about because there's a point where you think you're really done, and you're just done with egoism, the egoic self, the false self.
Yes.
And you're ready to discard it. And so you do certain things to enhance that possibility, and it looks like you're doing well, and then at some point it sneaks back up, comes back up from behind you and catches you once again. And so then a question can be, how many times do I have to invalidate the ego before it finally goes away permanently? Because each time it comes back up, it's an opportunity to invalidate what it has to offer, what it doesn't have to offer. And we were talking in the satsang, we had a guest named Peter Cutler, and he posts regularly on Quora. And he said it really beautifully. He said, I just prefer being in the stillness to anything else, to anything that comes out of the movement of life and the things that life has to offer. I just prefer the stillness, because there's a peace there that's just naturally perfect and endless and boundless, and I'd rather rest there rather than chasing this thing which is looking for peace, but either never gets it or gets it, but then a minute later it's looking again, this ego mind. So he was saying, I just prefer the stillness. And somebody asked him, was that an immediate transition for you? Was it, you know, did you drop the ego once and for all? And he said, each time I thought I had, and then something would happen, something that really triggered the ego identity again, whether it was a bad health problem or a loss in the family or severe trouble with money or something like that. He said, and in each case, he did something really smart, which was, instead of getting frustrated or depressed, and instead of self-flagellation, you know, self-berating himself, oh, I'm so, I let my ego creep up on me again, you know. Instead, he very wisely used it as a lesson. He said, okay, I'm back in the ego now. I'm participating with the ego's desires and cravings, and I'm going after those things again. I will not just get lost in that. I will purposely use that as another invalidation lesson. I'm going to watch carefully. What do I get out of this? What do I not get out of this? And so in each time, he would very quickly learn the lesson, and he would rediscover it's much better just to rest in the silence, in the stillness, than to do this. And so
that's so true. Yes.
Yeah,
one difficulty that I have with that is, like, for such a long time, I thought I was like Maxime, right?
Yeah.
But I'm just watching this person, right? So even if Maxime is being very still, it's still him making the effort. So now I'm just like, I'm watching it, but it's like, it's not even me. So whether he's still or not, I just don't care. He can do whatever he wants. And this has given me freedom also to be also in, I mean, not in the world, but to be active also.
Sure.
But the difficulty is, so I don't want to destroy the ego. I tried that. It doesn't work. Because then you have another ego of, I destroyed the ego, right? So I'm just aware of this costume, and I know it's not me. I'm just watching this. And the difficulty is, I love this play. I'm a very positive kind of person. I love life. I love to work. Sometimes I work like 50 hours a week just because I'm so into my work. So my problem is reverse. It's not, like, I like ego too much. Or I like the pool. I love life too much sometimes. So this brings me back in the game. And because I like the game, we are also the game, right? We're also everything. So it's always very subtle because I don't want to escape what's here neither, right?
Well,
and have another ego of like the spiritual practitioner spending like 5 hours in stillness, but that's just another person we are creating that doesn't exist.
Yeah,
isn't it?
If you truly are spending time in the stillness, there is no you spending time in the stillness. There's just the stillness.
Yes.
And so if there's a person in there going, oh boy, it's been 3 hours now in the stillness, then you're not really still. You're partially still, but you're also still moving. And but I understand, you know, as the whole apparent function of the dream is to have this arc of both the troubles and the desire to get away from them, and also the joie de vivre, where you just absolutely love life and want to keep playing the game.
Yes.
And so it's definitely fine. There's nothing, you can't do this wrong. Literally, you cannot do this wrong because there's no you doing it.
Yes.
But at the same time, we examine our path, we examine our process, our progress along the path. And we
yes.
say, well, I used to be like this, and now I'm like this, but that's still not satisfactory. So now I will go try to be like this. I'll try to go even further. And all the while, there's no you doing any of that.
Yes.
That's lifing. And it's a very subtle ability
subtle, yeah.
to see through it. Very subtle, because you've been identified all your life with ego. Now, for you, that's only 27 years. It's a lot even more difficult when a person's thoroughly invested in their ego and they're
Yes.
60.
That's true. But you know what? At the same time, what helped me is also like be in the life, forget about the spiritual thing, because so many young people right now, they are lost because they think they have to, meditate for 10 hours to awaken. But for me, when I did that, it only creates more illusion of someone who can do it.
Mm-hmm.
And it puts you back in another dream. So my it's very strange, but my biggest awakenings happened when I was just working, and when I was with a phone call with my client or something, and then I was like, oh my god, I'm not the guy who's having the call. That's all.
Right.
And it was simple. It was not mystical. It was not crazy spiritual. Nothing like this. Right? And and if we are too much in the spiritual thing, then somehow we miss like this, which is always here. It's so stupid to miss this. I don't know.
Well, the two coincide. You don't have to leave one and
Right.
live in the other. That's that's the fallacy. But the person who is going to spend 10 hours meditating and think that they're going to get somewhere, if they consistently do that, they're no different than a heroin addict firing up in the alleyway. They're looking for the same thing, release from the suffering, and somehow become something that they are not already. And the minute you try to become something you're not already, you're doomed, because you're back to work. You're working with the false self again.
Yes.
It's so much easier to just go, this is it.
This is it. Yes. And that's why I loved that's why for me you were the clearest on this. Just be here, and that's all.
So you asked before about my own story.
Yes, please.
It's similar to you, except that I've been around a lot longer, but I had experiences when I was very young. And in one particular case, I was 5, and I had this experience come over me where I looked out into our yard at my home, and I saw that everything was a dream. I saw everything was illusion. And I wasn't sure how to articulate it, but I ran into the house to tell my mother, Mom, everything here, it's just a dream. You are a dream. I'm a dream. It's all a dream.
Yes.
And she looked at me like I was from Mars and wanted to call the child psychologist. And things like that continue to happen. And then I went through a period in my teenage years where the realization of the dream was apparent, but it wasn't comfortable. It felt like some kind of psychological dissociation. I felt like I couldn't function easily in the world because it was half dream, half not dream. And so I got anxiety about that. And
I had that too.
And then I met the first teacher that I spent time with at the age of 19. And I fell in love with him, was very enamored with his presence, and moved into his ashram, which was at the time was in Connecticut. And then later on, they moved down to Virginia to reset up the ashram down there. And this particular teacher, Satchidananda, he had started this group of yoga centers called the Integral Yoga Institute. And there was about 25 of them located in different bigger cities around the US. And I went to live at different ones and teach his teachings and represent him. And I was with him for about 10 years. And because he was a very ecumenical guru who didn't have any religion,
that's good.
Yeah, he came from southern India, from a Hindu background. But when people would approach him and ask, "So are you a Hindu?" he would say, "No, I'm an undu."
I love that.
Undo everything that we've done. So I'm an undo. Yeah. Very funny. But he also consistently played host to other teachers. So the result was that while I was with him for 10 years, I was also able to spend extended time with many other teachers, Yogi Bhajan, Ram Das, Brother David Steindl-Rast, Swami Vishnu Devananda. The list just goes on and on of these incredible people, incredible teachers. And
so
there was
teachers. They were good teachers, right?
Yeah, they really were. And yet they were still couched in their version of how to experience awakening and leading towards that. And so it still had a kind of fragrance of this typical guru-disciple relationship.
Yeah.
And after around 10 years with him, and I was very close to Satchidananda. I was, for some reason, I was, because he had tens of thousands of students all over the world, but I was able to cook for him. I was able to work with him directly in many situations and have long talks with him. And then I left after about 10 years, and things started to happen naturally, and without a specific teacher. And I never went back to needing a guru or needing a specific, this is my guru, this is my teacher. But I just continued to explore the inner states and continued to explore the just the illusion, explore this thing that I knew was an illusion. And so I did my own meditation. I guided other people in meditation. I sometimes visited Zen centers and things like that. I think at a certain point, most of my learning, most of my transmission was coming from two people in particular, Ramana Maharshi and Sri Nisargadatta. And they were both, they were both
the best. Yes. Yes.
They were both very non-dualistic and also just very crystal clear.
Clear, yes. That's what we need. That's what we need.
Very
and yes,
succinct. They never said more than they needed to, and every word just went right through to my heart. And there were other teachers like that, like Jean Klein. I don't know if you know who is Jean Klein.
He's French, I think, right?
Swiss.
Oh, yes, Swiss.
So he was a musicologist who also went back and forth to India many times and had deep realizations. And a book of his called The Ease of Being, I recommend it highly. And I spent time with Jack Cornfield, who runs the Spirit Rock Center in Marin County and has written, I think, 20 books. and I spent time with Krishnamurti.
It was good. Yes.
And
very good.
As a matter of fact, the town that I now live in is the town that he lived in for the last 30 years of his life. So there's a lot of Krishnamurti aura here in Ojai, California. But all the while, it doesn't really matter the teacher or even the teachings. All the while, there was something that was just shucking away from me. It was like an onion skin is just being peeled, and I wasn't the peeler. Something else was peeling. More and more every day I woke up and I was exposed to what is, and
yes.
not the identity.
Yes.
And so that just kept on happening until it was gone completely. And I was in the woods in an area here called Lake Tahoe, which is on the border between Nevada and California. And I went there to do a silent retreat in the woods, just me.
Oh.
Because I'm married and I have a child, so I could have taken them along too, but it's just me. And while I was sitting there, I got a very strong tap on the head from Ramana Maharshi, as if he was standing right next to me. And
wow.
And then I was sitting in a circle of trees in the middle of the forest, and my eyes were closed, but I could hear this very loud sound of hoof beats. Some animal was running, and I couldn't help it. I opened my eyes and I looked, and maybe 100 feet away was a deer, 12-point buck deer. So, lots of horns and very majestic looking, very mature. And it was running towards me at a full speed, which is kind of strange because usually the deer would run away from human beings. This one's coming directly towards me. And it ran towards me and stopped at a point that was about 10 feet away and turned to the right and made a circle around me, circumvented where I was sitting, came back to that same spot, and looked at me once again. And this time it was not the deer's face, but it was Ramana's face.
Yeah.
And then it turned around, ran away as fast as it came, same speed, and disappeared into the forest. And my head exploded. And that was it. My head, I was the headless one from that point on. And I just merged into my surroundings, the grass, the trees, the sky. And I realized that this was always here.
Always here, yes. It's always the same thing, like nothing happens to it,
exactly.
Right? Yes. And in this one point, all happens by God's grace or something. Yeah.
Yeah, there was no time anymore either. It just, I could see the inception and the completion of the entire universe in one moment. And I could see the whole universe in the veins of one leaf.
Yes. Oh, I had a very similar experience in Bhava Spandana when I was in Sadhguru's ashram. That's why he referred to as his self-realization moment. And we were doing some, like Kundalini practices and stuff like that for 2 days. And then, like, the monks just told us to, go outside a little bit and just to look at some simple things. So it can be a leaf, it can be a flower, just some like piece of creation, right? And I just looked at it, and then I cried for 2 hours because I was literally like the leaf itself. I was not there at all. It lasted for like 2 or 3 days, where even like energetically, my body was here, but energetically I was not. I was in the environment. I was not there, and that's Sadhguru's enlightenment. I mean, that's how he. That's why he referred to as his enlightenment day, with a self-realization day. So he's definitely. When I said he was not the best teacher, he was a very good teacher. Still, maybe also in the spirituality kind of dream, because this beautiful realization didn't last. So that told me that there was more, but it was very explosive. I was very explosive kind of temperament when I was younger. Now it's much more still. But when I was younger, that's what makes me laugh. I know. When I was like 20, it was very explosive. So it was always expansive, right, and very energetic. Quite womanly in the expression. I mean, of course, I'm a man, but women tend to be more energetically sensitive
Yes.
than us. Yes, and I was extremely energetically sensitive. So when it exploded, it was like, oh my god, like an ocean, and I was like everywhere. Right, I was in the trees. I was in the Mother Earth. Right.
Yeah.
That was. That's why we say. I think it's always funny to have those analogies, but we say Mother Earth and we say God the Father. And I don't think it's just like that. I don't believe in this thing. I think it's because Mother has this kind of earthly quality and energetic quality, and Father is more like pure awareness. And that's, in my experience, it has been very true. I've
Yeah.
really experienced like this. Yeah.
You can certainly divide it up like that. So that's a little bit of my story.
Very good.
And I think it's important. I don't know who all you'll be sharing this recording with, but it's
On YouTube.
important.
It will be on YouTube, so for anyone who wants to view, they can view it.
There's a built-in caveat in sharing these kind of stories, your story, my story.
Yes.
And that is that somebody will hear it and want to emulate it and,
yes.
and have a similar experience. But that's not the way it is. The way it is every person's experience is exactly the experience they're supposed to be having. And that includes all the vast majority who will never even be interested in these things, let alone actually have experiences.
And you're very right to say that. And one thing I will say, you're absolutely right. And even though those beautiful experiences, they were beautiful and they were explosive and spiritual, I feel more free today, and I've never meditated as less as now. And I'm much more in life now. I'm much more human, much more, not so much in the spiritual dream. I feel much more free now than when I was younger, and I was obsessed with all those states, which are beautiful, but it's not the truth. Let's be honest. It's just states. It's like being on drugs.
It's like a peak point in the dream.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's happened for me is that there's this experience of the stillness in the background. There's this experience of a boundless, vast pool of beingness, of isness. Just I sometimes call it God's floor, because it's like what everything sits on, but it itself is not moving. It's not moving. Everything dances on top of it. And it's not good or bad. It's not right or wrong. It just is. And because it just is, there's a peace in there that even the word peace falls very short. It is just like when you're dropped into that place, everything just is. There isn't room for peace or not peace.
Yes,
good or
even
bad.
non-peace is peace.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's only what is. And what's happened for me is, in terms of meditation, is I can feel that and dwell there either all the time, or if I step away from it, I can step back into it in a moment like that.
Mm.
I can recover it just like walking through the door to my office and outside. I can just walk out and, oh, there it is again, and it's never gone. And so the point of meditation, formal sitting meditation, is it's a little redundant then, because it's like if I sit for a half hour or an hour to be in the stillness, but I also can do it while I'm washing my hands, cooking
Yes.
dinner, making love, anything.
Yes,
So
of course.
I can instantly step into that space. And the other thing about that space is what you were saying, is it's not exotic, it's not spiritual, it's just what
Not at
is.
all. Yes.
And so when people are hearing these stories, they think that they're going to be transported to some just cosmic consciousness and just some very weird
Yes.
stuff. And then when it actually lets go, when the identity lets go, and I personally believe that every person's identity does let go about 8,000 times every day. They just don't realize it. They're not tuned in.
Yes. Yes, yes. Of course.
But it's as simple as reading a book that you get so involved in the book as you sit there in your couch, and you next to you, the kitchen is busy and there's noise and there's odors from the food and stuff like that, fragrance, but you are so involved in this chapter of the book that you don't smell anything, you don't hear anything, and you don't even know that you're reading. You're just in that, right? And then something snaps you out of it, and something good is cooking, and I listen to all that noise. You didn't even know. You were totally, and it's not exotic or cosmic. It's
not
just
at all.
all of a sudden you are with whatever is, without any filter between you and what is, and it's just total peace.
Yes.
So I think it's nice of us to tell our stories.
Yes, it's very
I don't want
important.
anybody to hear these stories and go, "Oh wow, how can I get some of that?"
Yes, and as you rightly said many times, as long as we want to get it, we don't get it because the person doesn't get it. And so I like the analogy of we are the observed, right? We're not the observer. So whatever is observed is not me, even though it's nice, it's not me. Whatever happens, right? So
Whatever I think is doing the observing is not me either.
exactly. And as long as we think I'm here and I will get an experience, you might, but then you will create another trap. You will be another,
Yeah,
you will have a new you with a new experience. And this is only bondage. This is only bondage, yes. Okay, let's carry on because we've spoke a lot, but I still have quite a few questions.
Oh, I'm sorry. We were extemporaneous. Just
No
going.
problem, no problem, no problem. Just to tell you very quickly why we do this kind of interview. So my goal was to interview you, was to interview Adyashanti, but it will be difficult because he's very busy and everything. But his wife she's maybe more available, and Artem as well, because I think you're probably the best teachers out there, and the goal would be just so Adyashanti or his wife,
Mukti.
Mukti, yes.
And then
I know her. I've heard her on the phone quite a few times. And Artem.
Do I know this person?
Artem is on Quora. He's also teaching on Quora.
Artem.
Artem. Yes, sorry, my English.
Artem Boytsev. Yeah,
yes.
That'll be fun.
He's a good friend of mine. I know him as well. I know him quite well as well.
He's wonderful.
He's very good. He's very good. Yes. So yes. So the goal would be just to bring those, into one place so that we can have some kind of heart of traditions together, and people can also, for me as well, because it helped me, and I can also share my experience with how each teacher specifically helped me on something in particular. So for you, it was really the wake up, no bullshit kind of thing. the most. And for example, Artem was more on the emotional kind of trauma thing. So each teacher is very specific in that way. So
okay. So what are the questions for Teja?
so okay. So the first question. So since we agree that everything is just this, just what is, what apparently prevents us, because we can't find this, it's always here, right? It would be stupid to try to find this. So what apparently prevents us? So what apparently prevents us from seeing that it's already here? So as, or we could say, what are the things that we should undo, not do? Because doing is only more trouble, right? So that's the first question.
Yeah, it's a question which is being asked from intellect.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whenever we ask a question about what keeps us from seeing this, why is it created this way, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I know.
And we know that we are asking from the mind to figure something out. There's nothing wrong with that, but the answer will be inadequate, hopelessly inadequate. It's very limited because you have to perceive it directly. It has to be an empirical experience. But in the meantime, we answer it as best as we can. So all we know is that there is this here.
Yes.
This apparent universe filled with whatever universes seem to be filled with time, with space, with planets, with beings, creatures, maybe other creatures on other planets, all that kind of stuff. And it seems like there's a play or a movie going on, and there's all these roles being played for the function of it being that way. It's just a function. It's a function of movement. There could be no movement, right? If all there is one being could have remained in a static state, right? And until you rejoin being, it's impossible for you to answer why did being belch out this universe with all of its problems and all of these people who don't know that they are the universe and who feel like they have to get involved in a spiritual path in order to get back to that which they already are. It seems very odd. It's over the years that I've been teaching, and also all the teachers that I spent time with, probably the single biggest question is, after the question of how do I get back to being, enlightened, the first question is, well, wait a minute, why did being even do this in the first place? It was just sitting there being all nice and beautiful. Why produce this chaos? And it's all the apparent effort that has to happen afterwards, right? And there's no way to know the answer to that.
Of course.
But that is the answer to why we don't realize it. We're actors in the movie.
That was the answer. Yes.
And we're given roles to play. So one person will never even think of spiritual progress or paths. That would be 95% of the world.
And that's also just what is expressing as I don't care about the spiritual stuff, right?
Right. And then there's those who will care about the spiritual stuff and try to make progress on some path, and maybe go around in circles for a few decades. And, so there's different roles to play. And apparently the role of knowing who we really are is a very rare role. It's like if being was making a movie, it would only use either Robert De Niro or Brad Pitt Everybody else would just be a peon in the movie, just an extra, and they would be the one person who actually got it. So apparently it's not the function of the universe for us to quickly know who we are. That's the dream, and obviously, if everybody knew they were just dreamers,
yeah, then what?
dream's over.
Yeah, but,
okay.
but when you know it's a dream, you enjoy it much more. Otherwise, you're much more serious about it, right?
Well, you might enjoy it much more, but really, there's only being enjoying any of it, and being enjoys all of the chaos as well as the.
Yes, of course.
So it's actually all being enjoyed all the time. It's a full
That's
time.
the amazing thing. That's the amazing thing, because we really think that we are here, and so even so if we make apparent efforts here, it's still in the movie. Even if we get, oh, I get it. There's nothing happening. It's still in the movie.
I know,
isn't it? But I don't know why it's made this way. It doesn't matter, but it's just funny.
That would be the answer to your question, why we don't quickly realize it. Because if everybody quickly realized it, game over. And, right? And so the way that it's set up is for it to be a progression. And of course, a progression requires this other illusion called time.
And me.
Right. It's very mystical in that sense.
Yeah.
So our job is just to play our role. You're doing a good job. I'm doing a good job.
Thank you so much. You as well. You're doing a rare role, and I wouldn't like your role to just wake up the whole world. Your role is difficult. I don't want it. I prefer to interview you. It's fine.
Don't worry, I'm not going anywhere.
Okay. So I think that answers the question. Okay, so the next question is true awakening versus dream awakening. So basically, for a long time, I thought I wanted to wake up, right? But but I didn't want to wake up. I wanted to end the suffering, as we said, and have a good dream, right? So would you say that's the difference between true awakening, even though it's both unreal, okay, and dream awakening, where it's me in a better future with only in bliss and no suffering, but there is no me, so that's the true awakening. Right? Is that the difference between the two? Would you agree with that?
I would take it a step further and say there is no awakening that is a dream awakening, but there is also no true awakening. All of that is nonsense. Because who is to awaken? Who is to awaken from what? So when we meet a person who either claims to have had an awakening or they really have, something has drastically changed and they've become.
It's still in the movie. That's what you're saying. It's still in the dream.
Yeah, it's still part of the dream because you're still making the distinction of separate entities that had separate experiences.
Yes.
It's very God.
Yes. It's so obvious.
Being wakes up to itself in different locations, apparently. All apparently.
Yeah, I didn't want this. I didn't sign up for this. That's I didn't. It's not what I expected at all. It's not at all what I thought. Enlightenment, I didn't think it was that at all.
I know.
I thought it was me in a better place with no pain. But there's no pain, or there is, doesn't matter. And there's nothing happening. It's not at all what I signed up for.
It's right there in the sentence that you say, I thought it was me in a better place with no pain. But actually, there's no me. So there's no better place because there's no one to go there. And there's no pain because there's no one to feel the pain. There's just pain and places, but there's no me
Yes.
involved in any of it. But
would you agree? Would you agree that this seems to be a movement of life? Like, you know, we try money, we try spirituality, we try sex, we try all these things, and then we get tired of it. We try the material side, we try the spiritual side, then we get tired of it. So would you maybe agree or not that there's a movement of life that, like, why are all these people interested in enlightenment? Because there is nothing for them. So why are we interested in this? There seems to be some kind of like life wanting to be free from its limitations, something like that.
not so much.
No.
Life doesn't have a purpose.
Mm.
There's no meaning.
Yeah.
It's just what is. So if you look at life and it seems to be going in this direction with people interested in this and people interested in that, that's just life. It's not, oh, that means it's leading to something. It's leading to this. And that's the end goal. It's not like that. That's all mental overlay. We see everything as cause and effect. We see everything as subject object from the mind. So we can't imagine that something could just be without any reason behind it. In the mind, there must be a cause and an effect, a reason that we're moving towards. But there is none.
So nobody is really interested in true enlightenment, whatever that is. Nobody's interested in it.
Well, we are, but it's not any different than somebody being interested in the football game that'll happen on Sunday, or interested in, you know, going and finding a woman to have sex with tomorrow, or you know, it's all the same. It's just the movement. It's just life expressing itself in a variety of ways with no goal except to be life expressing itself. That's all. And so there will always be people interested in enlightenment, but so what? They might as well be. They might be interested in Taylor Swift. You know, it just doesn't matter. It's all the same.
Yes.
Oh, I went to a Taylor Swift concert and I got Taylorized and my head exploded and I went into a deep state of love with Taylor Swift. That sounds like enlightenment to me. This is good. We should all go see her in concert. It's just a different part of the movie.
Yes.
Right?
It's still just this expressing as the role play, right? It's just this expressing as I'm trying to find enlightenment. I got it. I lost it. All this.
Yeah.
But it's very funny when we think that there's only this, but we are so certain to be people. It's very funny that we are so convinced. But it's even that is just this playing as I'm really someone.
Well, you look at a bird or a tree or a squirrel, and they don't be something other than they are throughout their life. A bird doesn't all of a sudden become a tree doesn't become a squirrel at any point. They live out their lives in that form.
Yeah.
And so you could say that at some level they have an awareness of their form. Birds obviously have, you know, they lay eggs, and then if another bird tries to steal their eggs, they defend the eggs. They're self-aware enough of that. But the difference is there's no self inside of the bird or the tree. There's no self-being that says, this is me, and I'm looking for this, and I hope to get to this, and I hope to grow this big, and then I'll be enlightened. And it's just function, pure function without a self.
Yes.
And so that's what's available to us. But like you said, it's so interesting that we were born with such a strong sense of self that, unlike the birds and the trees, we really think there's a me in here. There's a self in here. And then that's what causes the trouble, or the apparent trouble. Nothing else does. Trouble, you know, anything else that happens, birth, death, pain, suffering, joy, none of those are a problem until you put the self in front of it. And then
Yeah.
it's right.
Yes.
So it's a remarkable thing that we have. There was a let me see if I can find it really quickly, because there was a couple of statements from Ramana and from Sri Nisargadatta that talk about Ramana said there's no entity by name of mind.
Mm.
Because of the emergence of thoughts, we surmise something from which they start.
Mm.
That we term mind. When we probe to see what it is, there's nothing like it. There's nothing there. The exposure of the illusion causes it to vanish, and after it has vanished, peace will be found to be eternal, will remain eternal. So, and then Nisargadatta said, mind appears formed by the concretion of the subtle portion of the food we eat.
Mm. Mm.
As an apparent aggregate of awareness, intellect, memory, and egoity, it receives the collective singular name mind, or ego. Since it is an object in consciousness, it is not the seer, but it is what is seen.
Yes, that's
inert. It's inert. But even though it's inert, it appears as if it's conscious because of its association with consciousness.
Yes.
So these are two very powerful statements in answer to the question, because if you look at it, you see that from the day that we can first have thoughts, linear thoughts and linear memories, and also all the conditioning that comes from the people around us who have been living for decades with linear thoughts and linear memories, goals, plans, send you to school. You're supposed to become this. You're supposed to achieve this and stuff.
Yeah, I don't do any of it.
And what you find is that all there is a string of thoughts and memories.
Yes.
Every one of which is gone. They're no longer here and now. They're just something that arose and passed, each thought, each memory, and stuff like that. And so they're strung together. But because of our association with consciousness, as Nisargadatta said, we think we have consciousness. Mm-hmm. And then we take that string of thoughts and memories and we make a self out of it. We say, oh, I must be a self. I've got all this string of thoughts and memories and they're mine. You don't have the same memories as me. You don't have the same thoughts as me. They don't proceed in the same direction and line as they do. So that must be me. And the next thing you know, we've got this thing called a self inside of you, even though there is no such thing.
Yes.
So that's where from that point on, we think of ourselves as a self, even though all it is we're a food body.
Just a food body.
We eat food, it turns into thoughts, memories, it turns into semen, it turns into heart beating, it's just pure function. But because of our association with consciousness, we think we have consciousness instead of consciousness has us. We are
yes.
Yeah. We are the observed. We are not.
I can see that. I can see that. Even when I'm speaking with you, I can.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, I can see. I'm not speaking. Like it's not me who's speaking.
Nor me.
Yeah.
And it's a precious thing that this even exists. That's why people like Tony Parsons and other teachers call the beloved. They don't say being or awareness or consciousness. They say the beloved, because it's tremendous act of love that being would take the time to manifest itself into all of this and have all this fun.
Yes.
That's
Otherwise,
tremendous.
we are, yes, otherwise there is nothing. Yeah. And nothing is also beautiful, but
Yeah. Well, don't worry. We'll all have a chance to experience nothing again very, very soon.
yes, I know.
Especially at my age, it's coming a lot
Well,
sooner than you.
you can always come back and have another dream if you want. We don't know how it works.
Yeah, I think I'm done with
I
the
don't
dream.
believe. No, I think all this rebirth is also full of nonsense. But yeah, that's about it. Maybe the last thing. So true teachers versus bad teachers. We already kind of did. We talk about this?
Not too
Like,
much.
like what would be the qualities of a good teacher versus fake guru, which are 99%, 99.9% of spiritual non-duality and the stuff like that. So we have very few good teachers like you, for example. So it's just to give people some kind of, put them out of the jungle. And of course, it doesn't matter from the absolute perspective, I know. But just for our human, you can have a better life if you follow someone who has integrity than someone who is like telling some nonsense.
A true teacher is not there. There's no one there. It's just a
That's
mirror.
beautiful. Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah.
If you show up to somebody who says they're a teacher and you see them, they're not a teacher. If you show up and you see yourself mirrored in them, they could be a teacher.
That's amazing.
And it's just being there for each other. You know, one of my greatest teachers are trees.
Yeah, me too. I love trees. Yeah, I
They're not
understand trees better
object,
than humans.
yeah, it's not just an object of beauty for me. There's a
Yes.
conversation. An energetic transmission takes place when I get close to a tree. It's as
Same.
palpable as anything.
Oh yes,
And
of course.
and yet the tree is not coming to me. The tree is not professing to know anything. The tree is not giving me guidance. It's
Yes.
just standing there being tree.
Mm.
And yet I get everything. Everything. There's nothing missing in the wisdom and the transmission that I get from that tree. So if you can stand next to another human and feel that same way, that this person is not stalking you, it's just being there
Yeah.
in life.
But very few people, I know it's more in the duality, but few people are like that. And it's coming to my next question. My next question is, have you ever felt like you're some kind of extraterrestrial? Like because my mother says I don't belong from this planet, and I don't understand humans very well. So sometimes I wonder if I'm human at all. And, like, it's a serious question in the sense that I've always feel like not alienated, not in the wrong way. I love being alone. I don't mind. But people either misunderstand, my character or whatever. So sometimes I make jokes, then I get fired of work. They say Maxine makes some kind of stupid joke or something. Because I just don't understand duality, and I never did. And it's always been a struggle to function. And I don't mind because I like my way, like the way it is. But I've always found this gap in my expression. It's not better because there are many things where I'm a total retard. Like I can't even, for example, I learned to, how do we say in English, tie my shoes very late and all these things. But on some other things, I don't understand humans. I don't know. So my question for you is, are we extraterrestrials pretending
No,
to be?
we are not.
No, we're not. Okay.
We are not because we are not.
Yes.
We are nothing.
You're
You
right.
know, we are energy. is just energy expressing itself, either expressing itself in form or expressing itself in the formless,
Yeah.
Like air or something like that, right? So the minute you try to pin down, where did the energy come from? Did it come from this planet? Is that why it doesn't understand the energy over here from this planet? You're trying to tie it down. It's just free form. It's just energy. There is no planets. There is no universe. Nothing actually ever happened.
Yes. That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
So,
yes, I was more feeling like in the expression, right? In the human expressions, some people tend, you know what I mean? Like you might get misunderstood by most people, for example. And why? I mean, it's not better. It's just one form, for example, will understand this form. One form will, and most people think I'm completely crazy. So that's why I'm asking.
you can only express the energy that is you, that you are.
Yes.
You can try to fake it, and you can go to a party and get drunk and dance wildly and act like all the others.
I can also do that.
Can fit right in with everybody else. I'm still often invited to social events, and if I go to an event like that, nobody thinks I'm crazy because I don't engage in this kind of a conversation.
Same, me neither. But if I'm completely myself, not crazy, but like, oh, this guy is weird. He's fine, he's nice, but is he from this place? I don't know. This kind of thing I get very often.
Right.
Like, okay, it's kind of weird, but it's nice. Which I don't mind. It's fine.
Well, at the same time, there's billions of people who don't act crazy or weird, and nobody thinks they're crazy or weird.
Yeah.
So there doesn't need to be any more of those. Maybe there needs to be more of these. The ones that people go, he's strange. No, let's investigate that. Why is he strange? How come he? Is he an iconoclast? Why is he doing things so different? I really am attracted to the eccentric people. Regular people are fun, but then every once in a while you meet somebody and they're just like, she's totally eccentric. She doesn't even think the way other human beings do. She doesn't move the same way. I'm interested in that. What's going on there? That's interesting. So if they want to say I'm weird, that's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't mind. Okay, I think we are arriving the last question. Practice. So which practice do you do, and what kind of practice do you do? Any meditation practice, and which kind of practice do you do? Like a true practice for waking up, not a practice to have more bliss, have more love, blah 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 blah. True practice in our face, just like that.
Well, that's a good question, because I'm no longer at a point where practice, formal practice, is called for.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I know that every person has to discover what is the best approach for themselves. And so first of all, immediately when we say, what's the best practice for awakening? I say none.
Yes, of course.
Because you can't have awakening as a goal.
Yes.
If you have that as your goal, then you're not going anywhere.
Yes.
So what you want is, you want a practice that lets you know you are already whole, complete, and awakened.
Yes.
You don't want a practice that gets you to being whole and complete and awakened. You want a practice that just lets you know you're perfect. You're a perfect expression of Maxime, Teja, Chakra, Pi, whatever, Bob. And you don't need to do anything to become who you are. And so in a sense, in a sense, the practice is to stop practicing for something to happen. That's actually the practice, to just be who you are, be as you are. Ramana Maharshi used to say, be as you are. And at the same time, most people are still fiercely identified with the illusory individual self.
Yes.
Right? So anything that you can do, anything you want to do to help put a wedge in there and detach the two is a good practice. And it seems to be, it varies for everybody. It seems like for some people that happens the most when they do physical yoga, or when they do physical, they're the kind of people who,
Hatha yoga.
Yeah. Or also Vipassana meditation, where they concentrate on each, separate nerve in the body and really get very familiar with the body.
I don't like that. I'm the opposite. If it's if there is too much focus, I like the open, right? So on my computer, I have like 30 screens open, right? The more it's open, the better I am, like the more relaxed I am.
Right.
And the more focus, even a slight focus, I don't like it. Even a slight focus on your breath, I don't like it. It creates some contraction. So I just open and open and open and open, and the more open it is, the better. It's just my expression. I don't know about you, but it's much more creative. Like from this pure space, then I create some music, or I just create a song, or I just and it's all spontaneous, right? Whereas if I focus on like one part of my body or something, then I'm too much in the person. Like I'm here again. I don't want to be here. I want to be nowhere.
Well, that's why I was saying it's different for everybody, because for some people, the way to be nobody is to study the body and realize that there is nothing in there, and realize that there's nothing but pure awareness. And for other people, psychedelics are useful. When you talk to Artem, you'll probably get a lot of that.
Yeah, I know. Oh, yeah, I won't.
He likes to use psychedelics in that way.
It's not for me, but yeah, I know he does it. Yeah.
And so there's different ways. I just, as I mentioned, I live here in Ojai, where Krishnamurti lived for years, and there are many Krishnamurti centers here. And I just spoke at his center, his main Krishnamurti Foundation. And one of the things that was asked was Krishnamurti against meditation or formal practice? And the answer was no, he was against trying to meditate. He was against, he was like, sit in silence. Can you sit and just sit in silence? But don't try to focus on anything. Don't focus on your breath. Don't focus on a mantra. Don't try to get anywhere. Just sit in silence. And, just maybe watch the mind and watch what it's doing, but you're not at all trying to manipulate the mind into a particular direction or position. Just sit in silence. Yeah. And so when somebody comes to me now and says, what's the best practice? The first answer is you'll have to find out for yourself, which what it is. But start by just sitting in silence. And, watch everything that comes up. Watch all the thoughts that come up. Watch the feeling of restlessness that makes you want to get up and go and start doing something around the house. Don't do anything about it. Just watch all the different things that come up. And it becomes it's self-generating. Once you do that for a few times and you sit in silence like that, awareness starts to reveal itself.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I'm not scared. I used to be much more, I used to like the very embodied kind of practice, so I'm a yoga teacher, so I also like that, of course. But but now, and I used to be more scared of the void, right? We think of the void like, oh, it's horrible. But not at all. It's very stupid. Because from this comes everything, right? And now what I just like to do is just to open the attention. So instead of being narrow on one thing, for example, write my emails, I will write my email, but I'm also aware of the sounds around, and I'm aware of the space around, and I'm aware of the sun, and I'm aware of the, and I expand it, and next time my body's here, but I'm not there. I'm writing my email, and everything happens just as normally.
Yeah.
But I'm not entangled with my person again. That's
Right.
I like it. Yeah.
Yeah. There was a period in my life where I would go to sleep and then I would watch myself sleep.
I do the same. I did the same yesterday. I do the same.
From someplace in the room, I'd say, "Oh, look at that." So, you know, there's reams and reams of practices available. Obviously, with the Vedas and the Bhagavad Gita and Adi Shankara, we could go on and on forever as far as different types of practices. And it's just part of human nature that we approach the practices as if they're going to take us, get us someplace better than where we currently are. It's very difficult for a human being, it's very difficult to set out on an activity without wondering what the goal is going to be at the end of the activity. Right. And yet that's enlightenment. Enlightenment is when there is activity, but no actor.
Yes.
There's just things happening.
What's happening. Yeah.
There's just what's happening to no one, from no one. And that's what you and I are talking about when we say we just let the awareness expand until all we see is everything happening, but we don't see a self there. And that in itself is a practice. That's a more advanced practice, probably, for somebody who's ready to do that. And then there's all the people who spontaneously go into those states and they never did an ounce of practice.
Yeah, I know.
You know, they just wake up one day and they're like, "Whoa, what's going on here? I'm not here, but I'm here. But I'm not here, but I'm here."
Yes. Wonderful.
But I know that it's really important to realize that no one has to get anywhere at all. And it's also important to realize that if you ever get somewhere and you think it was because of cause and effect,
it wasn't. Yeah, of course.
It could have happened. You could have been eating a bowl of cereal and had the experience much bigger than anything you got when you were sitting in deep meditation. You never know. You never know.
It's not even an experience, because there is no contraction and there is no sense that I am doing it. It's just here, right? It's not like fireworks. It's very constant would be the word, right? Constant. Like it's always the same.
It is. It is. It's always the same. And then the self here tries to make it different for entertainment.
And then it misses it by doing that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, wonderful. One last question, then we can end. Maybe just more on a general kind of life question, I guess. What advice would you give to me? So, like, if you were, when you were 27, if you had the same kind of bad temper as I do, because I have a very bad temper, whether it is with people or because I saw your videos and I remember you said you had a very bad temper, and even after enlightenment, it won't solve your relationship problems, and it did not solve any of my relationship problems. So, like, a question would be maybe some kind of advice what advice would you give to your when you were to my age, and like that, something like that, anything that comes to your mind?
Well, it's interesting you say that, because the first thing would just be yourself. Be who you are. Enjoy your life. Everything will unfold as it is. You have no control over it
No
anyway,
control.
right? And advice always comes with the feeling of, now that I've gotten this advice, I can use it, which means you feel like you're in control again. You get right back into that. But
Yes.
watch yourself unfold. It doesn't happen in time anyway. You know, you're 27 now, and you could have complete letting go at the deepest levels before you hit 28. Or it could happen in your 60s, or it could never happen at all. So you're just here. You are love, and you are loved by love, and you're just a contribution of love in the universe. So just love everything and love yourself. And you're already doing the most important thing, which is you are inquiring what is the nature of the self.
The self.
Yes. You're on a constant inquiry. What is this thing that thinks it's a self? You know, where does this stop and the universe start? Kind of thing. And you're already advanced enough that you know that there is no separation. There's no. And then, just like I was saying before with Peter Cutler, every time you catch yourself going back into the ego,
that can happen.
So you get unsatisfied with just the pure stillness, and something catches your attention. Somebody yelled at you, and because you have a temper, you want to yell back at them.
Yes.
Engage with them, or somebody cuts you off on the highway and you want to slam your car into them or something like that. And then just use it as a lesson. Oh, what did I get out of this? I kind of let the ego take over again. So I totally gave into it. I did what the ego wanted to, and I got a feeling of satisfaction. Maybe it showed up as a feeling of revenge. Maybe it showed up as
it's very stupid.
A feeling of sense gratification. I walked past the sweet shop, and I'm not supposed to eat sweets, but that sweet looks so good, and I just went and I bought it and I put it in my mouth. That feels so good. So they get that temporary gratification.
Which doesn't last.
Usually within seconds you're looking for the next gratification, and the next one it just doesn't last at all. So then you use that as a lesson. And you go, okay, there's no judgment. There's nothing wrong about participating in the ego's cravings. It's fine. But there's an opportunity there to go, this is getting me nowhere. This is just a vicious circle. And you know, I could live out the rest of my life like this. No one would fault me.
Because that's what 99% of people are doing.
They would think I joined the club again.
Exactly. And in business, if you sometimes it's not that you need ego, but you need to pretend a little bit, you know.
It's fine.
Because
so you just watch and you go, okay, and a natural thing can occur, a natural unfolding where you start to see the ego for what it is, and you just are not that interested anymore. And then you naturally gravitate. You're 27. I have a son. He's 32. So just very close in age. And he is very deeply active in business. And he also is active in the financial markets. He's a trader. He's an investor.
Okay. My dad is doing the same. That's interesting.
And so he watches the charts, and he sees if I'm going to buy something low and sell high and that kind of thing, you know, and he gets involved in that. And he would get very disturbed by the outcome. Sometimes he would get a big win, and that would give him a sense of euphoria. He just won $10,000 by, you know, putting his money in this particular product or company. And then he would get overconfident, and he would put some more money in another company, and he would lose $11,000, you know, $12,000, and it would go up and down like this. And he was noticing that it was very disturbing. The endorphins that he got when he won, the depression and the disgust and the frustration when he lost, the vicious circle, right? And he knows who his dad is.
You're not
right?
into these kind of financial things, are you? No. You're more on the creative side, right?
Music.
Yeah.
But he knows that he has a dad who has made a life study of these ego problems. So I made sure never to say anything to him. Never. When he would come to me and he would say, I'm really upset today because my ego got me involved in a bad trade, and now I've lost a large sum of money. Like that. And there was always the opportunity for me to say something, but I didn't. I just supported him. I listened, I supported him. And about 6 months ago, he came to me totally unprompted, and he said, I've started a regular practice of meditation.
That's amazing.
And I know that if I would have asked him to start a practice and let that influence his life, he would not have done it.
Yeah, of course.
It's just like, yeah, whatever.
Yes.
Because I'm his dad. But he did it on his own. And then yesterday we were together. We went on a long walk yesterday, he and I. And he said, something is happening. I meditate every day, and it's having an effect all over my life. But one place I really notice it is in my trading, in my investments. It's like,
wow,
it still goes up and down, but I'm detached. I'm not
not concerned. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't get all bent out of shape and frustrated, and, it's some kind of a natural shift in my attitude that I could not possibly have forced my attitude to change. The ego can't force the ego to be different. Right?
Yeah, of course.
If you look at a part of your ego that you don't like and you go, I'm going to use my ego to change that part of my ego, it just doesn't work. But something natural can unfold, and all of a sudden it starts to change. And that's what's happening for him. So
that's amazing.
But the one thing I would say,
that really speaks to me, because I'm a very goal-oriented kind of personality type. Like I'm the most goal-oriented person in the world. So it very much speaks to me. Yes.
But since the true teacher is a mirror, I also would say to some people, if you're really serious about your spiritual path, you've really gotten to the point where you just don't want to entertain the ego anymore. You don't want to feed it. You really want to let it atrophy and start to dissipate and stuff like that. Then I would say, as much as possible, spend time with someone who is egoless.
Yes.
Not because of the words or the practices or the advice that they might give you when you sit with them, but
the life they do, the life that they lead.
Yeah, the reflection. It's like a transmission. You sit with a person like that, and all of a sudden you feel different. You feel like you're almost by osmotic pressure, osmosis. You start to take on their qualities and feel more free.
That's why I'm doing it now with you.
And sometimes that's the best. But before we close, I didn't know if you knew this this saying by Acharya Prashant. I've read it before, so you might have heard it. But this really fits with what we were saying. He says, the fact is, enlightenment is your nature. As you are sitting here, not busy with this or that, you are already enlightened. It depends totally on whether you want to remain enlightened.
Yeah, I love that. That's why I said earlier with the question, how do we lose the whatever, what I mean? Remember?
Yeah. And it's an interesting thing. We're all enlightened, and yet we seem to be choosing, at least for some period, to be unenlightened.
Exactly. So for me, it was identifying those areas where I'm still, even though it's fine, where I'm still lost in blah, blah, blah. I'm again back in the person, again back in the dream. And just seeing those without judgment, but just noticing that it's here. Because if you don't notice, then what to do?
Right. And for most people, and I will send you the recording. I'll make sure you get it
Yes,
this time.
please.
Recording from the
Yeah.
last time, because we already touched upon it. For most people, it's fear.
Mm.
It's fear of the void.
For me, it's
You know,
not fear. I love the void. I I meditate sometimes hour in the void. It's not fear. It's because I liked my ego too much. You know,
well,
like
it's the flip side of that. When I say fear,
I see.
the fear is that I won't have the ego anymore. So I won't have all that enjoyment anymore. I'm so conditioned to enjoy life through the ego. What happens if the ego is gone? Then life will be boring and tedious and nothing will be happening. And so that's a fear in itself
I
of the
see.
void.
I
That's
see.
not,
So
you know,
yes, because my personality was very productive. So you have some people who have you know, like bad egos, they're depressed and they want to lose it maybe. But my ego was good. It was working well. Business
right.
was good, girls was good, everything was good. So now I'm like, okay, but what if I lose the good things, which made me productive? It made me, you know, competitive, which of course it has some downsides, but it has also some good sides. Like,
Right.
right? It pushes you to be better and all these things.
Well, by the time we are even 5 years old, the ego is our best friend. By the time we're
Yes.
27 or 70 or whatever, the ego is best friend. It's the provider of all the exciting things in life, as well as all the bad things in life too. But
Yes.
we know how to do selective memory. We push aside the memory of all the bad things and we just look forward to the next good thing
Yes.
that we know will happen.
That's,
You know, and so
that's very true.
there is that fear, you know, who will I be? What will I be? I'll just be adrift if I don't have this ego to relate to. And at the same time, Prashant is saying it depends on whether you want to remain enlightened. You may choose, he says, your freedom is immense. You may choose to give this up very soon. And what you are getting a flavor of right now is nothing but pure enlightenment. And since enlightenment is so ordinary, you don't want to believe that this is enlightenment. Yes, this is enlightenment. Nothing else is. But you will want to reach out for the stars and miss the earth.
That's amazing. That's a beautiful conclusion, I think.
Yeah, it really is. It's always a pleasure spending time with you, Maxime.
Me too. It was really amazing, and I thank you very, 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 very much for this opportunity. It was a beautiful exchange.
And I would also say, if you want to expand your list of people that you want to interview, if you intend to, you know, put this up as YouTube's or as on a website or something, there are some other people within the Quoraverse.
Yes. Yeah, I'm part of that. So, like, who?
I would say Peter Cutler would be good. You can write his name, Peter Cutler, and Vita.
Oh
Karnak.
yes, I know him. Yes,
he's amazing.
And I was thinking of doing J. Jennifer Matthews as well, because
Jay is wonderful.
She's wonderful, and we need man and women. I don't want just to do both.
Yeah, well, another woman would be Pamela Mills.
She's very good as well. Yes.
And then another woman who is fierce like me is Pausha Fowley.
She's also very good, and yeah, she draws very well. I saw her drawings as well. I follow her on Quora.
So there's a whole list of people that you could interview that would have, and I hope you get through to Adya, because
Adya would be great. Yeah, he's very good.
Yeah, he's a sweetheart. I love talking to him, and he also says a lot of the things that we were saying, that you will do anything to avoid the void. That's one of his favorite statements. But you know, he's very down to earth and very compassionate and very sweet.
He's very sweet.
Let me know if you get a chance to talk to him, and
I will. Okay, well, thank you so much. So we will end now. I will post it on my channel. If you also want to post it, you can, of course. I will send you the link when it's on my channel, then you can choose. So I will end the
And we
recording
will,
now.
let's get it posted on Le Monde.
What is Le Monde? What is that?
The world? Isn't that the main newspaper in
Ah, Le
France?
Monde. Ah, yes, yes, yes.
Le Monde.
Yes, yes. Oh my God, do you know this? Yes, it's not very famous. Wow.
I thought it was the most popular newspaper in France.
It's,
Le
I mean,
Monde.
it's quite famous in France, but French newspapers, nobody cares about. Even I don't read them. I read English newspapers.
One of these days, I'd like to meet Macron.
Well, I don't know him. I know some friend who's working with him, but I don't know him. But he's,
He seems
I think he's good. People hate him here, but I think he's doing a pretty good job. But
he seems to
French
be
people are difficult. They have their temper.
not
French
you.
people. No, not me, but I had a purely Anglo-Saxon kind of education.
Ah,
So most French people are not exactly like me. Okay, so
well,
I will stop the recording now. Then we can